Are you losing your mind? Well, it's something that we joke about, but certainly there's nobody who wants to lose their mind. There is nobody who wants to go into the later years of their life with their mind not working well. And yet, sadly, it's estimated that within about 15, 20 years from now, that people my age, that when we start reaching our 80s, 50% of the people my age right now, heading into their 80s, are going to have dementia, Alzheimer's disease, some other way that our brains are not going to be functioning. 50-50 chance when you reach your 80s that you will have Alzheimer's or dementia. That's a big number. That's just a coin toss. And so it is important, no matter what age you are now, it is so very important that you do the right things in order to keep your brain healthy and avoid doing the wrong things that will lead you toward hurting your brain and may result in some of these brain diseases like dementia. So, whether you're ADHD or not, these are things we need to do to keep our brains healthy, and these are things we need to do to avoid in order to keep your brain healthy. So in this video today, we're going to talk about things to avoid, choices to avoid making so that you can keep your brain healthier as you head into your 60s, 70s, and 80s. And then we're going to have a follow-up video on this that'll be things to do that will help your brain to remain healthy. Now, the reality is, if you hit 80 years old and you start to have dementia or Alzheimer's, which is a form of dementia, if that's what's going on, it started back in your 40s. This disease process started way back then. It doesn't just happen overnight. It takes quite a while for this kind of process in your brain to take place. And the really good news is that it is reversible to a great degree. Whatever damage you do in your 20s, 30s, 40s can be reversed in your 40s, 50s, and 60s so that you can head into your 80s with a totally well-functioning mind. So let's look at some of the things first to avoid doing so that you can keep your mind. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is perhaps the most important. It's not the most severe, but it might be the most important, and that is what you eat. Now I used to eat horrible stuff, and on the way home from working at the hospital, driving home, I'd stop at a Jack in the Box, and I'd get some really incredibly tasty, awful thing to eat. And as I would do that, kind of as a habit, I was listening to different business coaches, and one of these men, I don't even remember who it was, he said, "We dig our graves one bite at a time." And that stuck, and that was like 25 years ago. So let it stick with you that we lose our minds one bite at a time. If you have ADHD, what you eat or do not eat really does, in fact, matter a great deal. And so the first thing is for you to make the decision, make the choice to eat good foods and not to eat bad foods. Just don't eat bad foods. Don't eat things out of a cellophane wrapper. Don't eat at bad restaurants. Don't eat junk food. This may be the single most important decision that you make today. It's just the decision not to eat things out of the cellophane wrappers, not to eat things from those fast food places that you know put stuff in the food that you shouldn't be eating, just to make the decision not to eat there. Yeah, will it cost a little bit more? No. At the end of the day, it doesn't cost any more. That's significant. But it could cost you more, certainly, later in your life. You also want to avoid foods that are sprayed with pesticides. Just make sure you wash your vegetables and so on. Pesticides are bad. Hey, around your house, don't spray with Roundup anymore. Just don't do it. It's just a bad idea. I live on 2 acres out in the country. It's a beautiful place we live. And the easiest thing for me to do is just to spray every year with Roundup. And I don't. It is just, don't do it. Avoid high carbohydrate foods, high carbohydrate drinks, high sugar foods, high sugar drinks. Now, once in a while, you can have some ice cream. That's fine. But that's just because that's part of life. But those Pepsis every day that you have like 6 of every day, they got to go because you're putting like 10 spoons of sugar in every glass that you pour it into. You just have to stop. You have to change some habits. And so those high carbohydrate foods and drinks, high sugar foods and drinks, we just have to stop eating those. They cause inflammation inside our body. They're bad for our heart. They're bad for our brain. And we just have to stop doing it. Drink water instead, maybe some tea. That's great. Lots of other things you can drink that are not a problem. Drug use, yeah, that's a problem. I mean, you remember the commercials. This is your brain on drugs. Yep, it can cause a lot of damage. It can cause problems that look a lot like ADD. Some of you know people who are going to be arguing for the right to smoke pot every day. And I'm going to tell you, it's a bad idea. You're going to go find newspaper clippings. You're going to argue with me. You're going to do whatever. You're going to say, oh, no, it's great for you. It's great. Okay. I'm just telling you, when you hit that 80-year-old mark, you're going to be on that category, not the category I want to be in. So you're doing stuff to your brain, smoking cigarettes and smoking marijuana. I would just recommend you just stop doing that. Alcohol abuse, certainly some alcohol is just not problematic. But abusing it, yeah, it is. And certainly if you're addicted to alcohol, you want to get treatment for that. Now, when do you know if you have an alcohol problem? If you go to the sources of people who treat alcoholism, they'll tell you 7 drinks a week or more, you have a drinking problem. Now I've had people who will do about 70 or 80 drinks a week tell me they don't have a problem, and their trunk in their car is just filled with beer cans. It's a problem. But what the alcohol is doing to your brain is also problematic. So you don't want to abuse alcohol. I would just have to tell you, no more than like a drink a day. If you actually want to keep your mind going into your 80s, that's it. Excessive caffeine consumption. This is my problem. No more than 2 cups of coffee a day. So I can do that. I can do 2 cups a day, and I can restrict it to that, and so can you. So that is pretty good. And we're talking about a day, right? So we're talking about 14 cups of coffee a week, and that's a lot. It's kind of a lot of coffee. So if we can keep it under that, you're kind of going to be okay. If you can keep it in that 7 to 14 a week range in there, you're even better. Obesity is bad for your brain. The heavier you are, it's bad. The more your head is like one size and your body is too big for your head, that's just bad for you. So the more overweight we are, the worse it is for our brains long term. And it's starting to damage your brain even in your 30s, 40s, and 50s. So lose weight. Just lose that 20 pounds. And if you need to lose 20 more, then lose them. So obesity is bad. Inactivity is bad. Now, the great phrase is, when you move, your brain grooves. That's a great phrase. Remember those grooves in your brain, the top of your head? So when you move, you're making your brain not only perform better, but actually structurally change to optimize itself. So you want to move. You want to exercise. Inactivity is an enemy of brain performance. So keep moving, keep exercising, keep doing that. High stress, chronic high stress. We all have times where we hit stressful situations. We all get that. We all have times when someone that we love has passed away. We have times we lose jobs. We have times maybe good things happen, that we get promoted way beyond what we think we can do. Somebody has a car accident, whatever it might be. We have these periods of time that are times of high stress. But if we are like swimming in the pool of stress every day, week, month, and a year, this is bad for the brain as well. So we have to learn how to manage our stress. If you need to get professional help for that, do it. You need to find a stress coach kind of guy, do it. But you want to be able to manage stress. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, I ask clients all the time, what's your stress level? Scale of 1 to 10. And Neurofeedback's awesome for that, by the way. That I have the high performance neurofeedback, direct neurofeedback. People will come in, they'll say it's an 8 or a 9, and 20 minutes later it's a 2, and they're doing great. Whatever your stress level's at, you need to kind of have a stress level of 2. If your stress level's 0, you just stay on the sofa.